Okay, so we're back live. Hopefully whoever was trying to hop on at the end of the other video will see that I'm on live again and get on. My face got completely frozen, so I have no idea if you guys were still hearing me or not, but I decided to end that video and start over, even though I was on a roll. So we're talking about body comments and that they are harmful. And so this is a message that I want to start talking about more. It's something I think a lot of us, myself included until recently, are all guilty of, or many of us are guilty of. And so it might feel a little bit, it might sting a little to hear this message, but it is harmful to perpetuate the idea that being smaller is good. And so when we congratulate people for losing weight, especially without any prompting, like if someone says to you, I lost weight and I feel good, that's one thing. But if you just notice that someone's smaller, saying to them that they look good because they've lost weight is, the problem with that is then that's the flip side of it. They didn't lose weight, that they don't look good, right? Or they look better when they're smaller. And so what I was talking about at the end of the other video, please refer back to that video. It's only like 12 minutes long. What I was talking about in that situation was that it prevents people from accessing quality healthcare. So it prevents people who are largely bodied from going to the doctor because they don't want to be shamed, which it's well documented that people are, when we're larger, we are shamed, and weight stigma is real. So the other thing that happens is we have externalized and internalized weight stigma. So what example I was using for weight stigma at the end of that other video was this idea that if you're smaller, then there's certain health conditions that you don't have, like sleep apnea or diabetes or an eating disorder. So those things may be missed for someone who's in a smaller body or a lower BMI body. And BMI, by the way, isn't the best measure of or indicator of health. And unfortunately, it's relied on in the health industry a lot. The other thing that happens is that people who are in larger bodies, when they do go to the doctor, they are weighed, they're shamed around that, which, by the way, you have a right to refuse to be weighed. If you ever go to the doctor, you can say no. Now, if you have heart failure or another medical condition, that really is important to note where your weight is at because of fluid levels, not because of your body size. That's a different story, and I don't want to encourage anyone to not get appropriate medical care for their for an actual illness. But but if that's not an issue for you, if you just don't want to be weighed because it's triggering for whatever reason, you can refuse to do that. So they go to the doctor and the doctor weighs them and they have a complaint or a concern, a medical concern. I have these symptoms, and they're told lose weight. Well, actually, focusing on weight loss doesn't improve health indicators at all. So they've done studies with people with diabetes, and if you do some health interventions that are weight focused versus health interventions that are not weight focused, the people who had weight focused health interventions did not improve their blood sugar any more than the people who had non-weight focused health indication or health interventions. So focusing on weight loss doesn't help and is stigmatizing. And again, if you're focusing on weight loss, a lot of times you're encouraging people to do diets and restriction, which does not eat and actually makes you gain weight over time. And this is all based on research that's out there. So if you ever want to study, feel free to reach out to me, ask for it. But I have a bunch of studies in my wheelhouse that I refer to, and I work on always being up to date on the most current research. So the people who are going to the doctor who then are saying, who are in a larger body, who then are being stigmatized and told that the answer to any of their health concerns is to lose weight, are missing out on quality health care and treatments. So it's harmful in a larger level. And then, like I mentioned, again, it contributes to feeling concerned about your body size. It contributes to women being hyper-focused on their body image. And it contributes to that mental and emotional energy drain that we have around food and body image that many of us have or struggle with. So it's harmful in a lot of ways. So what do we do instead? When we see someone and they're glowing, tell them you're glowing, right? You can tell them, oh, you're beautiful, or whatever, but make the comment that it's not connected to body. or talk to someone about it. Say, in the past I've really commented about bodies and I'm not sure how I feel about that, but I'm hearing that it might be harmful and I don't want to hurt people. If you're someone who has been commented about, it's okay to say, hey, that hurts my feelings, or hey, I'd rather not have comments about my body. It's triggering for me. It's totally okay to say that and set that boundary. For me, I've decided to say things like, oh, I'm not weight focused anymore. I'm moving away from talking about my size, something like so that people know that it's my own personal decision and that there is a really intentional reason. It's not triggering for me anymore if someone says something about my body size. Although I suppose if someone said, wow, you look way heavier than I thought, or something like that. If someone was like, you look so much smaller on Facebook, that might not feel very good, right? But it's not triggering for me when someone says, oh, you look like you've lost weight, you look good, right? It just is that I know that this mentality overall is harmful and pervasive in weight stigma or stigmatizing people because of their size. And I don't want to associate being good with being small in my brain or elsewhere. So like I mentioned, I'm going to be saying things like, oh, I'm no longer weight focused. I'd rather not talk about my body size. Yeah. So anyways, I hope this was helpful and informative, and you're going to see more and more about me, kind of more and more of me speaking out about the things that are perpetuating diet culture and how those things are harmful, and how I really want to encourage and support you to stop judging yourself and stop shaming yourself if you're doing that, and spend some of that mental and emotional energy on nourishing yourself, both physically and, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. The more nourished we are and the more we care for ourselves, the more stamina we have to live our brilliance, and the more joy we can have, because we're not like just feeling I shouldn't like I'm not a good person because I ate a whole pint of ice cream or 2 pints of ice cream or whatever it is, right? So yeah, I hope this was helpful, and I would love to hear from you about ways in which you have been making comments about people's bodies, or people have commented on your body, and maybe how you have handled that, or boundaries that you're going to be setting for yourself. This is something that we're going to be talking about in my group, my cohort, or my hybrid coaching program. So my hybrid coaching program, I'm ending enrollment on Sunday. It's basically a group and one-on-one program. So I'm going to be working with people one-on-one. We're going to have an intensive together and then meet regularly throughout the 6 months. And then we'll also be doing group coaching Zoom calls monthly and a quarterly meal where we sit down together and enjoy a really delicious, beautiful meal to celebrate all of the success in shifting our mindset around our relationship with food, and learning to have less judgment and shame, and learning how to have freedom and balance, right? So we're going to be celebrating those things. We're going to eat some yummy, yummy food, and we're going to talk about boundaries because it comes up a lot during the holidays. So that first meal for my group will be in November, in just about a month. And then we'll be having another meal in the spring. And I'll also be enrolling for my spring cohort. I'll probably enroll people in February, but I'm not sure on the date yet. And have those quarterly meals where we talk about when we are out in the world and when we see people, how do we have boundaries around when people mention our body size, right? I had a client share with me she hated to go home because she knew every time there would be comments about her body. So how do we have boundaries with people that we love and people that we don't love and people that we don't know around talking about our body, and how they don't need to comment on our bodies, right? That's none of their business, really. But how do we say that in a loving way that doesn't create a fight, and in a way that we feel okay about? And then also, how do we have boundaries with people about food? So I don't eat gluten. I don't want to sit down at a table to eat like Thanksgiving dinner and talk to people all about why I don't eat gluten. I don't want to talk about my intestinal function and the pain that I get when I eat gluten and why why I choose not to eat it. I also don't want to talk about why I choose to do intuitive eating and eat with a lot of flexibility, and why I'm putting certain things on my plate today. And because again, that's nobody's business but mine. I am the only person who knows um, the best way to feed myself and nourish myself. And I've developed skills to get there, but um, I'm the one who's the authority, right? Because I'm attuned to my body and what works for my body, and I take care of it. So, anyways, we're going to be talking about all of those things in my group at the meals, and I'm so excited about that. But I'm going to try to bring in that piece here with you guys. I think somebody just hopped on for a moment and then came off. So hopefully you guys can still hear and see me. If you're here, say hello, say you can hear me. We're talking about boundaries around bodies and comments that people make about our bodies and how that is harmful. And so I'm hoping that we can, as a group, start to agree to shift that thinking and start to speak up when people are crossing our boundaries about making comments on our bodies or how we choose to care for ourselves. All right. I hope that you all have a wonderful day, and you'll be hearing more and more from me. Thanks.